Welcome to this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, alongside my co-hosts Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, and Scott Medlin. And boys, what a game we had in Evanston, Illinois. 26-20, double overtime thriller. Your Duke Blue Devils are 2-0. And before we give our thoughts and thank our sponsors, of course, we got to hear from the man himself. Here's head coach Manny Diaz post-game after the big win.
Told the team just a moment ago that I'm in awe of their effort, of all of the adversity that we went through tonight, some self-inflicted, some caused by an amazing effort by Northwestern. Our ability to persevere and overcome was remarkable. Really felt like after we survived the block punt and the interception on back-to-back drives and gave away 0 points, which is just an insane effort by the defense there. I really felt like from that moment on, we felt like we would gain momentum to win the game, and I thought our offense grew into the game. Again, have to give credit to Northwestern's defense. They are a tough nut to crack, but we finally were able to find some of the weak points in the defense and exploit some of those and start to sustain some drives. Miss a field goal. No one flinches, get the ball right back, go down there. Thought we were going to win the game at the end of regulation. We sent it to overtime, and then defense gives up a touchdown. Offense has their back right away. P&10 touchdown, back-to-back touchdown. And then I think the play of the second overtime, I think it was Chandler Rivers making a tackle on the QB sweep on the third down, just setting up the fourth and long, which was a tough situation for them to be in. So, like I said, a lot to fix, but really, really proud of the team and happy to be 2-0 heading back home.
And again, that was head coach Manny Diaz giving his thoughts after Duke successfully defeats Northwestern for the sixth straight time, 26-20 in double overtime. And before we head into our thoughts in the mailbag and all things Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast, we got to give a shout out to Matt Bliven, who is one of our Hellraiser sponsors, and he has been giving away tickets to every home game, and it's no different this week. We've got a special promotion this week. Let me say this really quick, folks. If you are listening to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, stop what you're doing. Do the best you can to get on YouTube, because this is how the tickets are going to be given away this week. It is a YouTube exclusive. At some point during the episode tonight, there is going to be a code word said, and we will be sure to let you know what the code word is and when it's said. Once the episode's done, you have to comment in the YouTube comments the code word. Again, I'm not going to say what it is. It's just going to pop up.
It's not going to be said. It's going to be shown. Won't be said.
But we can say it when it's shown.
No, because no audio. You got to come to YouTube.
Ooh.
We're not going to say it. You got to come to YouTube.
I like it. So it's going to be shown when you are done watching and commenting on how well we did tonight. You need to also comment with this code word, whatever it is that's going to be shown. So just be on the lookout. But again, thanks to Matt. He is going to be doing this all season long for the remainder of the home games. The next giveaway will be for the UNC game. That is going to be a good one. But as always, if you're in the market for a home, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, if you're looking to build, give Matt a call. He'll be happy to help you answer any question you might have concerning the real estate market in and around Durham. Give him a call at 919-323-0527 or email him at mlb@nestrealty.com.
Yeah, we are also brought to you by Home Field Apparel, homefieldapparel.com, the leader in vintage branding. They have released a ton of new gear over the last 4 weeks. And so even if your team is not Duke, or obviously we want your team to be Duke, if you purchase anything at homefieldapparel.com, if you will enter the code Section 17, you will receive 15% off your first order. And so make sure you head to homefieldapparel.com, get your team, Duke, their favorite gear, vintage, comfortable, all that good stuff. Brian is currently rocking a vintage brand Hellraiser tee. And so Brian's going to be doing a giveaway later on this year on an episode of some more home field apparel, home field gear. So make sure you head over there and use code Section 17 to save some money. And then finally, Our newest sponsor this year, Hometown Air. These are our friends that have been our sponsors in the commercial space, have now moved into the residential space for HVAC work. Hometown Air will bring 25 years of experience in the industry, and they will do new installations as well as service your current equipment. The cool thing about them is now they have their website up and going. That is hometownairnc.com, hometownairnc.com. You can also call them at 919-568-3212. And we appreciate all three of our Hellraiser sponsors. Brian.
Home, home, home. That's all you need to know, folks. The Blue Devils are at home. If you need your home air conditioning fix, go to Hometown. If you need some home field apparel, go online. If you need a new home, reach out to Matt Bliven. So our thanks again to all our Hellraiser sponsors. And again, we're going to jump right into it, to the mailbag. We did not have another interview scheduled. Again, our apologies. Dropping the ball. But we will be back with an interview soon. I promise you, folks. But again, so many questions came into the mailbag. We wanted to get to each and every one of them. Again, as Duke goes to 2-0 for the season. One thing I will say, and I mentioned this to the guys beforehand, this was Duke's first overtime win in 9 years, folks. 9 years. Since the Pinstripe Bowl in 2015. And yes, folks, if you're an Indiana fan, just remember the kick was still good. Not for Indiana, though. Indiana's kick was still no good. So, Jamie.
Shout out to our guy, Casey.
Yep.
We'll if you're watching this. Direct shout out.
Yeah.
Hey, I was say, but you guys scored 77 last weekend, so be happy.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, Indiana fans are happy with Kurt and the cigarettes, as we like to call them. So, but with that being said, Jamie, enough banter. Let's get rolling with the mailbag.
All right. I thought this was a great question. It came in actually this afternoon, like this afternoon, when usually I'm not even looking at the questions, and Josh said we should answer this one. So it's at Blue Devil NHOU, and he says, talking about Jordan Moore, he said, not only is this dude clutch, but think about the story. Recruited as a QB out of high school, played 1 year at QB, lost the starting job to Riley, and took it like a champ. Moved to wide receiver and is our greatest weapon. This day and age, other guys could have said, forget this, and transferred to another school, but he stuck with the team and turned into our greatest asset. Where do you rank Jordan Moore on your list of favorite Blue Devils of all time?
Wow. I mean, shout out David, by the way, for just a great question and just pointing out kind of the timeline of Jordan Moore's career. If you guys remember, I believe that was the first road game we ever went to together. Was the Charlotte game when Jordan Moore got in that first game. And we had seen some glimpses of him. This was before we had access to the team at practice. And we had seen some social media clips of him in practice. And we're like, man, that kid's fast. And but yeah, to David's point, I mean, any other kid I don't believe would have handled all the things as well as Jordan has. And we've been able to get to know him. He's got a solid family. If you don't know, his younger brother, Jaden, is a wide receiver on the team. He's out this year with an injury, so he'll be redshirting. His sister helps with the football program, and she is also a part of the first ever flag football team going on at Duke. So pretty cool there. Very athletic family. We know the Moores very well. But I will say this, Jordan Moore cares about his degree. He cares about his academics. He cares about life, not only after Duke and the NFL, but after the NFL, right? He cares about life after that. And so just a solid, strong young man. And in my opinion, I believe that he knew he was coming to Duke to play football and to get that degree, and nothing was going to stop him from getting that degree. That's my thoughts. So where would I rank him after this season? If he continues on with what he's doing, first of all, he'll be over 1,000 yards. You know, Malik and him are kind of joking and guaranteeing he's definitely going to get that 10th touchdown. We'll see how that works out. But, I mean, he's got to be listed among the greats. I mean, when you think of Duke wide receivers, I mean, Clarkson Hines is kind of in a league by himself. But then you have your Jamison Crowders, your Connor Vernons, your Eron Rileys, your people like that. He's got to be right there in the middle of those guys for sure.
Yeah, that is one of those situations to where we got to see it firsthand, because as Jordan was coming up and elevating his position, we were coming in with the program as far as media coverage. And I'll never forget the day that the announcement happened. Me and Josh were at practice, and we see the Midnight Rider himself point at us. And Josh looks at me and goes, "Oh, God, what did we do? Are we about to get kicked out?" He starts walking towards us. And we were both just like, well, that was a quick run, but we're done. And then we were told, hey, just letting you guys know, this is what's going to happen. Jordan, we're transitioning to a wide receiver. I mean, gave us the full rundown. You got to remember, folks, what Jordan Moore had dealt with his first year, and all the I guess you could say the bottom of the barrel is where this program was at. He put enough trust in the new coaching staff with Mike Elko and his team to basically say, you know what, Coach, I'm not going to fight this. Let's give it a shot and let's see what happens. Can you imagine this, guys, had it not worked out? The conversation we could be having right now. And I'm glad it did work out, because his family is awesome. And that's one thing that we've been fortunate enough to realize, is that being a part of this program, the families have come to talk with us. We've gotten to know the families off the field as well, especially that Military Bowl game where basically the whole city that Jordan and the Moore family are from came, which was so awesome to see. But yeah, he has done more with the situations that have been presented to him than most players would. Some would, especially in this day and age, would just be like, oh, you're not going to let me play quarterback? Guess what? I'm going somewhere else, and I'm probably going to get what I want, where I want. You see it all the time with the NIL and the transfer portal being the way it is. But to Josh's point, he's on pace to having a stellar career at Duke. Regardless of, I'm just going to say, regardless of how this season goes, he's definitely in the top 10 of all-time Duke greats for where he came in to what he's doing now. And imagine if he had 4 years at wide receiver. That's something to think about. We just talked about Clarkston Hines. He could have been in that rarefied air with Clarkston. So it's just, we're all rooting for him. We're rooting for his family. We hope to see Jaden next year. You know, that would be cool, just to see Jaden continue the Moore name in the wide receiver core as well. But yeah, Jordan's just a class act, does it better than most, and gonna hate to lose him when he leaves. But yeah, definitely a top 10 Blue Devil regardless of how this year goes.
And that tailgate at the Military Bowl, that was like something to behold, because that's like the most people we've ever had at a tailgate, and like at least half of them, if not more than that, were there just to support Jordan and his family.
It was in the hundreds. There was hundreds of people there for Jordan.
And they were all there for them. Like
the poor hard hat guys, we ran out of food. It was
I was going to say, we've never had that happen before. And Matt, one of the hard hat number 3 or number 2, he was like, "This never happened before. What are you talking about? Well, there's no more food." We're like, "What?" He's like, "I've got nothing left to make." Like there's usually plenty of food, but the Moore tailgate is they cleaned house, so it was a great time up in Annapolis. Scott, you got anything?
I'll go ahead and go real fast. I tell you honestly, you just listen to Jordan speak. Jordan is a Duke guy. You can hear him as he speaks. He is a Duke guy. He bleeds blue. Again, like Josh and Brian both reiterated, the family is all Duke. They're Duke, and it's a great thing. And the guy has a chance, and Duke, no matter what they do, he could possibly make all ACC, where Duke doesn't get a lot of views. The connection in the games, the way he plays the game, he's starting to get more looks by other people. He's got a chance of doing something else next year in the NFL, and I think that's a great thing, to start where he was to get where he is. And let's be honest, we're only 2 games in. He's still got 11 more. He's got a lot more to do, and he's going to do a whole lot more.
And talking like my personal favorites as well, like not even just Duke all the time, but my personal favorites, he's up there. Just to see what he's done in just a span of a couple of years of being a receiver is just amazing to me.
I would like to point out before you go to the second question that I did put him as my helmet sticker winner this week. I just want to point that out. And also, those of you that know Jordan, he's very kind of stoic. His personality is very serious with his personality. And just so you're ready for the next 4 years, Jaden is not. Jaden is like hilarious, like cut up, kind of a funny guy. If you saw the game one win photo from the locker room that we posted, he was screaming in Coach Diaz's ear right beside his face there. So anyway, looking forward to four more years of that for sure.
All right. Now we're moving on to some serious stuff. At the Duke of QP, our guy. Great gutsy win. It's clear Feely has had a big impact on the fourth quarter and overtimes, which no doubt. I mean, absolutely. We've talked about that. You've seen the difference since Feely has been here. When this team gets into the fourth quarter and on, they are the better team a lot of times, the more conditioned team. Looking ahead to UConn, what do you see as their strength? Oh, and also, do they have a big Husky deck? Because he had to throw that in.
I just want to know how long this is going to go with him, because we've got the.
We've got 11 more games.
Is there going to be a horsey deck next week?
There's gotta be a shot at Carolina when they come over here with, from that crap hole over at Keenan.
Well, the tiny wrinkly deck. That was interesting. Their tarping needs a little work. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't seen the photo, it's on social media out there. No, okay. So UConn. Let's get back to some serious talk here. This one's a tough one to kind of nail down, because UConn has played a very stout Big Ten Maryland Twerps team, and then they turn around and play FCS independent school Merrimack, who I don't know how long they've been in the FCS. I think they were in Division II before they moved up.
The last we heard of them was the Civil War.
Yeah, against the Monitor. And didn't they win that battle?
I think they did.
Okay. Merrimack beat the Monitor.
Yeah.
So I will say this. UConn moved the ball against Maryland in the air, 222 passing yards. They only had 88 rushing yards that entire game. So we know Duke can stop the run. We've seen that in the first two games. One thing that they did well, I guess, against Merrimack is they scored a lot. You're supposed to do that against an FCS school. And again, the numbers are skewed, because against Maryland, you lost 50-7. Against Merrimack, you won like 63-17 or something like that. So when you look at the averages after two games, they're averaging 284 passing yards, which is technically 39th in the whole NCAA. But if you take away the Merrimack game, I mean, I will say this: there's one player that Duke fans need to look out for, especially the secondary, and that's of course I've lost it now. Skylar Bell, I should say. 2 games, 246 yards and a touchdown. He had 141 against Maryland. So this is no joke. He didn't have like 230 against Merrimack. He did have 105 and a touchdown against Merrimack. But if UConn's going to have any chance of competing with Duke, they've got to air the ball out, and they've got to have some yards in the air. Because if they go for 88 rushing yards, thanks for playing, game over. I don't know if you guys have any other input, but that's what I found from my research.
Yeah.
Now I was looking at one of their running backs. He's a freshman running back. Obviously, he didn't get many chances against Maryland because they just absolutely smacked him. But he did average 5 yards a carry in that game. But they had to start throwing the ball. I mean, once Maryland just started smacking them, I mean, you're not going to run the ball. And Maryland was playing great defense too. But he did, on the limited carries he got, it was 5 yards a game. 5 yards a game. And then against Merrimack, once again, I kind of take this with a grain of salt, but he averaged like a little over 9 yards a carry. So on the season, he's averaging over 7 yards a carry. And this is Durrell Robinson, and he's a freshman running back. But once again, it's hard. I mean, you get beat so badly by Maryland, and then you beat Merrimack, so we just don't. It's hard to say.
On the Skylar Bell thing, Brian, the one thing that does make me a little bit nervous there is touchdown Brees Hall fantasy football. The one thing that does make me a little nervous there is the way Duke gave up a lot of receptions to like AJ Henning on Friday night, which was the #1 receiver at Northwestern. And so I don't know what Coach Packey. I mean, he had a lot of receptions. They weren't for big yardage, but I would like to see maybe like a man up. Like, hey, this is Chandler Rivers. He's our number one cornerback, or Josh Pickett for that matter. Josh Pickett is off to an incredible start. But like, we're gonna man up with this guy wherever he goes. I don't know what we'll do there, but like, all that to say, that does make me a tad bit nervous when they have a dominant wide receiver, because we all knew it was going to be Henning Friday night, and he still had like 9 catches. So does make me a tad bit nervous, but we'll get to our predictions later.
Well, the other thing to consider is this. Duke fans, you've seen it on social media, but I'm going to say it here. Duke is leading the country in tackles for losses. To me, that says right there, if they can continue that trend, the UConn running game is going to be non-existent on Saturday night, which means UConn is going to have to pass the ball. And then I'm wondering if Coach Packey makes the adjustments to where you focus more on the pass than you do the run. So a lot of what ifs, a lot of questions, because again, you don't go into a week 3 matchup with the team that's played 2 consecutive FBS schools. It's just so skewed. It's hard to tell.
I would say this and just leave it here. Jim Mora is a very good defensive coach. He always has been. I'm interested to see what he'll do. I mean, he's always been good. He's been good at the NFL level. He's been good at the college level. So it'd be interesting to see what they try to do to stop Duke on Saturday night.
Oh, but once again, I mean, UConn, even though Jim Moore is a great defensive coach, what were we talking about before this got on? They gave up how many yards to Maryland, and then also almost 300 to Merrimack. So
the defense total to Maryland gave up 629 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns. Against Merrimack, they gave up almost 300 still. But that could have been garbage time. They could have had reserves in. Didn't really watch the game. I don't even think it was on TV anywhere. So
it's still skewed.
Crab cakes in football. That's what Maryland does.
It's still skewed because we just don't know how good is Maryland.
Yeah.
I think they lost to Michigan State this weekend, but Michigan State could be good.
And it was only by a field goal, too. I think Maryland's going to be good in the Big Ten.
All right. So Hans Van Ben Schoten. Sorry, once again, I probably butchered your name.
Hans, if you come to a game, you got to come to the tailgate so you can help Jamie out with the pronunciation.
I've met Hans, actually. He got a helmet from me. So
nice.
Shameless plug.
Thoughts on the 3rd and 1 play call on the game time drive late in regulation? He said the play action pass behind the line of scrimmage brought back some rough flashbacks for him. Is that the one where the pass was dropped? Where it would have been, it would have been an easy first down. So to me, it was a good play call.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. So we all think we all know. Was that the Nikki one? Is that the one we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can say this because I think Nikki knows our fanhood for him and his and all that. But that was just a drop. He turned his head and tried to run before he had secured the pass. And literally, I can't remember another time in his previous 4 seasons at Duke where that's happened. So I think that was just I don't mind the play call because literally 99 times out of 100, he makes that catch and he gets the first down. So, I just feel like he tried to turn a little bit too quickly.
He started running before he caught the ball. That's something that happens a lot with receivers. Yep.
Speaking of 3rd and 1, I thought they were asking about UConn's 3rd and 1 in the second overtime, which was the worst play call I've ever seen in football.
No, that was a great call. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it was that one was almost as bad as the jump pass at UNC the other year.
I got my plays mixed up. Sorry.
All right. At Drew Chesh, the series with Northwestern has been competitive and fun. They're a rival and are easy to get along with their fans. Hats off to their team. Are we aware of any negotiations to renew the series that FS1 dubbed the SAT Bowl? So Brian probably have some information on that because I know he looks ahead.
Yes, I do my research when I do Tale of the Tape, and while I'm talking, I'm going to pull up just to make sure because I know as soon as I say it, they're going to have something scheduled. So I could not find anything in the foreseeable future. What have we played them 6 straight years? That's a long time for a non-conference back and forth because it's usually a home and home. You're done, and then go on to a different team. So I don't think Duke has anything penciled in as far as Northwestern goes. They have been a great opponent because we've beaten them 6 straight times. I will tell you this, folks. There is a different Big Ten school coming in to Wallace Wade next year, and that's the Fighting Illini of Illinois. So we've replaced Northwestern with Illinois, and we are doing a home-and-home with them in 25 and 26. But as of right now, I'm looking all the way through 2030. Nothing with Northwestern written. It could still happen. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of years to where there's only one non-con so far scheduled. You never know. It could come back up.
All right. I got a couple of questions here about the QB position, and I'm going to group them together. And y'all can just talk through it. We'll talk through it. At some point, the quarterback is going to have to run. This is Kelvin Brinson. I'm sorry, Kelvin Brinson off of Facebook. At some point, the quarterback is going to have to run. The team you are playing has to respect the ability of the quarterback to run. If not, it's going to take away one of your weapons. And then some similar questions at Clint H. Rop. Do we have a package for Henry at QB going forward, or was that just a timing and situation thing? And then there's more Henry questions at Fish Fry 02. We've seen a few plays with Henry coming in and running for positive yardage. We all have to assume that we will be seeing more of this in the future, especially if Moore is out for a significant time, right? And then another one, Eli Hartso off of Facebook. He's like, why do some people think putting a backup QB in is going to solve the problem of receivers dropping easy passes? And while I'm unmuted, I will say the backup quarterback's always the most popular guy on campus. It is what it is. That's what happens. So you got anything, Josh?
Yeah, I will say this, and we can speak to this. I believe Jim Sumner put this out, but you will be seeing Henry really at that quarterback too, because the plan is, obviously we know the plan can change because it changed last season. The plan is to do their best to preserve Grayson Loftus's red shirt for this year that they tried to do last year. So Jim reported that, and basically trying to get Grayson back on track with what he came in to do, and that is to redshirt and then play 4 seasons. And so it'll just be play a season, redshirt, then play 3 if everything goes as planned. So, but back to the questions. First of all, I think we're going to see the run packages from Henry, but you also saw, was it a 7-yard completion, and not an easy one? We all know this as Duke fans and followers of Duke. Henry Beelan can throw the football. So he is not like a gimmick running quarterback, even though he can run when he needs to. But he can throw the football. So that's number one. So if there is, and I believe there will be some packages for Henry Beelan, it's not necessarily just going to be for running the football. It'll also be throwing the football. And then secondly, you're exactly right. However the question was worded, Malik has got to be willing to run when necessary. There were a couple of plays Friday night where, he easily could have gotten the first down on the ground, and he chose to throw it. I would love to see him be a little bit more of a willing runner. Of course, he did run there in the 4th quarter, and he put one on the ground. Luckily, his knee was down, his leg was down before that. But anyway, and then the receiver drops thing, like, look, it's football. It is what it is. I mean, we mentioned the Nicky drop. That's one in his career, number one. Number two, like, some of the drops from the wideouts are like, those are not easy catches. And so, like, there's not been egregious drops. We have been, listen, there have been people at Duke, since we have been following this team closely, when you want to talk about drops, I mean, I can think about old 24 that moved to wide out, that transferred out, who would get open 15 yards wide open and drop passes. Some guys that were number 1 receivers over the last 5 to 6 years, dropping passes. So it's not nearly as bad as it was. So I'm not complaining.
Would you rather go back to the Carl Franks days, folks? Never forget, run, punt, no passes. Give me a deep shot and fingertip misses, but at least having a deep shot than 3 up the middles and a punt almost every series. Because some of you don't remember that, but those were during the dark ages. They were not fun.
I mean, I will say this, and I think on that 4th down play, and maybe the one I'm thinking of, on the 3rd down play where he fumbled, it was another play too. Whatever was happening, it looked like he had cement shoes on. It really looked like he was slow and like he was having issues. And that's fine. I mean, that was the crappiest turf you'll ever see in your life. And, anyway, I won't go down that road because I'll be an hour on tangent and yelling and screaming. But, that was a bullcrap field, bullcrap place to be playing. That's lacrosse only, not football. But anyway, so, but I think all in all, he's done things. He's had better chances of throwing the football down the field than we've had in the past. And yes, there's some catchable balls. There's also some really good defense that's right there. And I mean, somebody was giving Jordan a hard time on one pass on that sideline. I don't know how he even got his hands there to catch it. The fact that he even made a play to catch it was brilliant. But it is what it is. I mean, we're still working out the kinks. This is the second game. I mean, Northwestern played pretty good defense. Still, Duke's got some kinks they got to work out. Hopefully this Saturday against a team who's not that good, and hopefully next Saturday, same deal, before they have to play, the Smurfs from Chapel Hill.
All right. And yeah, I mean, I think we're finding out that Malik just is not a runner, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But the bad thing is we haven't been able to run the ball. So it's hard. I mean, and we're used to having QBs that can run the ball. I mean, we really are. At Duke, we're used to having QBs that can run the ball. So, I mean, you had Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard, Brandon Connett, like all these guys, Thomas Sirk. I mean, we're used to having running QBs.
And even your pass forward guys like Gunnar Holmberg could run if need be. Grayson Loftus last year. Obviously preferred to pass, but could run if he needed to.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, when's the last time Duke had a non-running quarterback that we in our lifetime?
Sean
Renfrey.
Yeah.
Thad
okay.
Lewis.
Yep.
Thad
Okay.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ben Bennett for the older crowd.
All right. At the Joel Strick 81. He said this isn't important, but how awesome was it to watch Eli Pancol give Theron Johnson the little man treatment on the game-winning touchdown after Johnson had flipped that pick to Manny earlier in the game?
Okay, I don't know if all of you fans have seen this, but that was super disrespectful. So the guy got the interception and is over on the Duke sideline and literally flips the football to Coach Diaz. And Manny was like taken back by it, like he was not ready, prepared for it. And like he ended up catching the ball and just kind of looking at the guy like, what are you doing? And like, number one, you don't do that. That's like completely disrespectful. If a Duke player would have done that to the opposing team's coach, I'd be mad at that Duke player. I don't care who it is. I mean, we just professed our love to Jordan Moore. If Jordan Moore were to lose his mind and do that to an opposing coach, I would get on this podcast and be like, that was bullcrap. Like, no, that can't happen. Right. So like, anyway, and then, but to see Eli be able to turn that around, and Eli's the best. Like Eli is like, he's the guy that can get away with like insane amounts of talking because it's just his nature. And so I loved it. I wish there was a way he could have shown him up even more without getting a flag.
We also know if Jordan would have ever done that, Mr. Moore would have come down from the stands and removed him from the field.
Percy Moore would have decapitated him.
He did that where he was sitting to the ground.
They would have been like, the game's delayed, and there's a player's father on the field, and he's taking him off the field.
Yes, it would have been bad. But yeah, I mean, of all people, you flip the ball at Manny. I mean, Manny's a player's coach. He's not, he's definitely not talking trash to you. Like, what? How did that not get a flag? I mean, personally, I feel like that's
my whole deal. Had it been a Duke player, I promise you, they would have thrown a flag from the middle of the lake out there, and would have landed right in the middle of that crappy lacrosse field.
Yep. All right. Moving on to Brian Alford off of Facebook. He says, run game. Need to have one. What is the fix? O-line doesn't seem to be getting to the second level block. And RBs need to understand sometimes it's okay to just put your head down and get 2 or 3 yards. And he's absolutely correct. 3 yards is 3 yards is 3 yards. At least get forward. So any there's some similar questions too. I'm sorry. How concerned should we be with the run game? Thomas Hutton off of Facebook. Some offenses just don't scheme to use it, but I'd have to think we need to improve. At the end of the day, we are 2-0. Love a team who fights an ugly game and still gets the W. And at Ross Jacob 684. How concerned should we be with the run game? So a lot of concern with the run game here.
I would say this. The draft, a massive difference, in my opinion, between 1 and 2. In 2, we ran that way a whole lot more than we did that way. So I think that was a learning situation. I'm waiting for it, and it's going to happen very soon. We're going to see a Star Thomas 60-yard touchdown run where he goes to the line and leaves everybody behind him. I still think he's still trying to get his feet wet. And I'm not attacking him. I'm not saying anything bad about him because I think he's a great kid. There's a couple of times I thought where if he would juke one way or the other with a defender one-on-one, the defender's draws is going to be laying over there and he's going to be running by him. And instead, he ran right into the block instead of trying to juke the guy. And maybe that's just me because, Madden and college football, you get away with that crap when you hit the buttons right. But to me, I think, and that's another thing we've got to look with the running team, with our running guys. We're just, I don't know, we're not exploding through the hole. And when we get there now, it does seem like there's like 8 people in the box. And they're basically forcing us to where we're not going to get more than 3 or 4 yards unless, and honest to God, we're not getting called for holding. That's one thing the offensive line is not doing. They're not getting called for penalties like that. And that's a great thing. It's going to come with time. We just got to give it a couple more weeks.
And speaking about what Scott said about Starr, he did towards the end of the game. He had a couple of really nice runs that were like 8, 9 yards, something like that. And he looked more decisive with the ball and just getting out and just getting it done.
Yeah, and I don't know if the injuries questions made the list, Jamie, but obviously it looks like we're going to be without Jaquez Moore for a limited amount of time. It's not a season-ending type injury, but he got injured, kind of a non-contact, awkward-looking injury out on the sideline in the first half on Friday night. And so
I did have a question. Hey, Hot Shots, any word on Jaquez?
Yeah, whoever you are in our Facebook group trying to be disrespectful, I think you're no longer in our Facebook group. So congratulations on that.
The Matumbo from Scott.
Yeah, Scott Medlin gave you the get out of here, dog. But yeah.
Let me say this before we get to the next question. If there's ever a time for this team to get the run game on track, it's these next 2 weeks. Middle Tennessee right now is the 97th best rush defense in the country. UConn, I think I stated it earlier, and of course now I can't find it, but they're not that far ahead of Middle Tennessee. So if you can get your run game going, week 5, you're going up against a top 20 rush defense in UNC. Chapel Hill College. Sorry, Scott. I didn't want to disrespect you like that.
Look, Hottie Toddy did a number on Middle Tennessee. I know we're a week early, but they did a little dance on them this past weekend.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's do it. Let's roll.
Regina Lee on Facebook, and you might be able to speak to this, Josh, because you were actually in the stadium Friday night. She said, were the wind and rain big factors in the mistakes from the offense and the special teams? And she also said injury report, but we kind of went through that.
Well, yeah, let's touch on the injury report real quick. So Jeremiah Hazley is out for the season. And so, we in the stands, we knew that pretty much immediately. So anyway, that is a done deal for the year. Hate it for him. He was having a promising start to the season. And, it's not the deepest room on the team. You now have, obviously Nikki Dalmolin. Imagine if Nikki didn't decide to come back. You got Nikki Dalmolin, you got Vance Bolliard, you've got Jake Taylor in that room. But, can't afford much more, drop off there. So those guys have to stay healthy for sure. To answer Regina's question, I don't think the rain had anything to do with it. The rain really wasn't. I mean, it came down, but it wasn't a hard rain. But I do think the wind, I don't know that it actually made a ton of difference in the offensive, execution. But I do think that perhaps, I do not know this, but perhaps Duke backed away from throwing the bombs and the deep ball down the field a little bit because of wind, potentially. I don't know. Because it was windy. I mean, I was sitting there, our friend of the pod, Jordan Mann, was in the same section as I was. And you could see those flags. They were whipping around, and you could actually see one of the field goal posts looked, the one on the end we were sitting at, looked almost crooked because of the way the wind was blowing it. So the wind was a factor. I just don't know if it was actually a factor on the field. And I know that's kind of a weird answer to the question, but it was definitely present there, and it was in the heads of people. I just don't know if it actually impacted the play on the field.
In your opinion, Josh, did it have anything to do with the 2 missed field goals?
Oh, absolutely. So Polino's miss, in my opinion, he thought the wind. Yeah, I think he thought the wind was going to pull it, and the wind didn't. That's my opinion. I don't know. I wasn't able to talk to him after the game, but I believe he was kind of playing the wind, and it didn't push the ball at all. And so that, so anyway, but I do think that there could have been, because it was whipping up. You're right there on the lake. I mean, you guys saw some of the video clips. I mean, the water was just like smashed into those rocks. Like it was windy. It lived up to the Windy City name.
Yeah, and I think either they said it on the broadcast, or I was looking at a weather report before the game. I can't remember which one, but they said it on the broadcast too. It was 15-mile-per-hour sustained with like 30+ gust. So that's pretty significant, especially for kickers. And like you said, Josh, I think it could have affected Malik going deep. I mean, because you see the arc he gets on that ball when he throws it deep. I mean, he gets into it and it goes like. But I mean, the wind, a 30-mile-per-hour gust. I mean, yeah, that could definitely affect a ball, a deep ball like that. As far as the shorter passes and stuff, I don't really think that affected anything. But the kickers for sure. And you even wonder about the fumbled punt return. I know it was a botched punt, but I mean, who knows what that ball is doing while it's in the air when the wind is gusting like that. Next question off of Facebook. And Frank, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your last name, but once again, if you see me at a game, just tell me how to pronounce it, and we'll be good to go.
Hey, that's my job, not yours. Butchering names.
This is from Frank Kokoska. Frank Kokoska. Not sure.
Hey, shout out Frank. I met him up in Evanston.
Oh, nice. Malik looked much better and sharper in the OTs than in regulation. He said, is that better play calling, the nature of defenses in OT, and then thoughts on how he can build on that for UConn. And there was a similar question from Daniel Ray off of Facebook. He says the PA seemed more effective than the RPO. He's like, could we use that more going forward? Might help to get the running game going too. Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, because I think we texted this. Eli was gone for the longest time in between there, wasn't he?
Yeah. So you guys know the way we roll around here. We are not critical. I mean, we started this podcast the last 2 years of David Cutcliffe. So I was literally scratching my head from in third and fourth quarter. I think there were 6 or 7 straight drives where we didn't see Eli Pankel. And I looked over on the sideline. He had his helmet on. He was standing right beside everybody right there at, ready to go in. I do not know. And that really blew my mind because how good of a, start he had in game 1. So that could have played into it.
I would say that first play in overtime, though, was a great pass. And he just set perfectly down in between the seam. And I almost wonder if they changed their defense thinking we were going to come out running, and first play we went down the field instead of messing around. And then, like I said, that back shoulder throw to Eli for the touchdown was great. That was Tom Brady-esque.
Yeah, I mean, and there's not – I mean, how many QBs can make those throws? Like, I said this in my helmet sticker article, and I think I tweeted it too. Like, not every QB as that clutch gene. Not every QB can make those throws during overtime when you're already down 7 points. The wind is gusting. You haven't had your best game, but Malik comes out and just fires a dart to Jomo like right off, like it was nothing. Let's see. Oh Lord, I just lost my place. Sorry. Give me a second. Wait for it. We got any Jeopardy music? All right. At Matthew Lofton 15 had some pretty cool observations here. Northwestern was 1 for 6 and 0-4 in regulation on 3rd and 5 or less. 3 times they lost yardage. Northwestern was an Iowa 53-yard field goal away from making the Big Ten championship game last year. He says they are top half of the Big Ten. So I mean, thought that was a good comment. Matt just saying, hey, look, that was a great win against a team that won 8 games last year. So and likely are going to be a pretty good team again this year. At least on the defensive side of the ball, we saw maybe some struggles from the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, they're good, but here's the crazy thing about it, Jamie. It's weird because like when it doesn't necessarily translate. Like we blow them out some years and then they go on a winning streak and like finish the season, like with only 2 more losses or 1 more loss. Then other times we blow them out, but then they, I don't know. It's weird. You never can. This game doesn't necessarily dictate the remainder of the season. It's like an odd thing in this series that we've had with them.
All right, we got a couple more questions and then we'll be done. At Taylor Given, thought this was funny, and we haven't even talked about the rabbit yet tonight. I'm not superstitious, but he is a little stitious. But should we get a rabbit to run on the field every game for the rest of the season? It's like talk about lucky rabbit feet. I mean, I think I read an article where directly after the rabbit ran on the field, Duke recovered a fumble or something. Wasn't it? I may be making that up. Maybe I dreamed it, but I think it was like directly after the rabbit went crazy on the field that Duke recovered a fumble or something like that.
I am 100% sure that the rabbit made the helmet sticker list this week in direct little form there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. I don't know if we could do that for North Carolina though. I don't know if a rabbit would work here. There may be too many hunters out there trying to shoot at it.
It was wild though because it was running around right in front of us, right in front of our section, and I'm assuming it was running around quite a bit before the camera crew got a hold of what was going on. Because I mean, we were following that thing, and it would run out towards like it was going to run on to like the playing surface, like out and like, and then it would run back. And one time the ref like blew the play dead because he thought the rabbit was going to be out there. And the shout out to the Northwestern Wildcat for trying to help corral the thing, but it didn't work quite as planned. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty wild, pretty wild.
All right, we got another one from at Taylor Given. He said, "Would you rather go 1-11, but the one win is against Chapel Hill College? Shout out to Scott. Or go 11-1, but the one loss is to the yucky team, as my son calls them?" And we had a question like this a few weeks ago from Tyler, and his was a little more like, would you rather go 6-6 and beat your rivals, or 8-4 and beat like Florida State or something? This one's an easy one. I would take the loss to Carolina if it meant we were 11-1, because we'd be in the playoff.
In our defense, Taylor, we have been through both scenarios already. So, we've gone through the 0-11, 0-12 seasons, and then one of our like 2 victories has been against UNC to get the victory bell. We haven't gone 11-1, but what was the record we went in 13,
10-2.
10-2. So that's the closest. So yeah, I mean, I'm with Jamie. I'd take a playoff appearance right now.
At this point, let me help everybody out. I'm a couple weeks ahead of myself, but I'm gonna go ahead and start. Sam Howell and May, they're not walking through the door anymore. Max Johnson, he's not out there this year. You got a running quarterback back there running the show. Just saying. He's not going to pull a rabbit out of his hat against Duke to beat them in Durham 3 weeks from now.
Well, I will say this though to our point, and yes, it's a funny question, but like Duke does need to beat UNC. Like it's time. Like, and that's one thing, Coach Elko did a whole lot of very good things for 2 seasons, but we did not beat UNC. And so that is something that needs to happen. And so if Coach Diaz can pull that off and have Duke sitting at 5-0 after that game, once again, I know we're counting our chickens a little bit here, but if that be the case, that would be major, not only for this season being 5-0, but for getting the victory bell back. And I think all of you fans out there would want that thing back.
Can we please just have a noon game one time this year? Can we
not,
go old?
Not that game, man, because Ed Sheeran's on his concerts on Wallace Wade Friday night before the game.
Man, Duke would blow a gasket if the ACC said, "Hey, guess what,
dude?
The
ACC, that's gonna be an 8:00 kickoff on a Saturday night there on ACC Network with Wes and Luganville. I can promise you.
Hey, at least it's in Wallace Wade, and we don't have to go to that shithole that they call a stadium over there in Chapel Hill.
That place is terrible. It's terrible
with their tiny wrinkly deck.
Yeah, with their tiny wrinkly deck. What a shithole.
Here's the stadium itself is terrible. There's no parking. That's terrible. There's no tailgating. That's terrible. Anyway, it is not a fun place to watch football, and that is the rivalry aside. If you didn't know anything about the university, it's a terrible place to go watch a football game.
And you pay $18 for a cup of barbecue that's about this big. So that's the other thing.
But Muffet and Buffet park their Mercedes to go sit in the blue zone and watch their powerful pref boys in the light blue Smurf uniforms to win their games while Mac eats his pudding cup.
And I know we pay for
that went on for a long time. That was excellent, Scott.
I know we pay for it, but we get to park right next to the stadium. I mean, like, geez, there's nothing like that at that dump.
I agree, and that let me get on. Let me get on a little thing about that. The Duke experience at Wallace Wade Stadium is incredible. It is the most you get the best bang for your buck. Like ticket prices, parking pass prices, Devil's Deck prices. I mean, compared to those little like I said, those lawn furniture decks that we had that are going on at Virginia Tech and UNC. Like, anyway, and then people still complain. People will still complain about stuff. It's like, if you guys want to complain, go check prices and amenities elsewhere, and you'll come back and realize there is no better place to watch a football game on a Saturday than Wallace Wade Stadium.
And our DJ is better than their DJ.
Yep, and our deck is bigger.
They say size matters.
They have to jump around. That's the only reason.
I swear to everything, if the fight song is played during that game, I'm going to lose my marbles. We don't want to welcome our friends 8 miles away. Could they learn the DX song?
For
band.
So speaking of playing the opposing team's fight song, I was at South Bend on Saturday, and our friends at Notre Dame do the same thing. They are the most hospitable home team in college football. They welcome everyone with loving arms, and they
on the scoreboard.
What happened in that game?
Yeah,
Illinois is now ranked. They're 25th in the new poll.
Wow. How many national titles do they have? Let's get a couple national titles under our belts,
exactly,
and then we can play whatever we want.
I agree.
I would rather than play Cascada than play that other teams.
Northwestern played Cascada. I don't think they understood that it was like Duke's song, so they played. Of course, I think the Duke highlight video actually caught me doing this for like a split second, and I'm actually mad at Zach for doing that. But I think they figured out real quick that all the Duke fans were cheering and doing stuff to it, and it shut down mid song, and they went to a different song. So anyway, I think they unknowingly played my least favorite Duke song.
That's hilarious. All right, this is our final question. It came off of Facebook, and this one's for Josh since he now works for the Durham Devils Club. Shout out, DurhamDevilsClub.com. Roger Helm. Question on the players' NIL. Is this done on a per-year basis, or do they accept on a basis of being there long-term? How do we stand on some of the key players and keeping them after this year?
Hey, that's a great question. Roger, I think his name was. So I will say that we're in the third year of NIL, but really we're in the second year of really organized NIL. And I would say to this point, the vast majority of all NIL deals are for that year, that season. I believe the future, and one way that collectives and places will be able to mitigate the transfer portal is to work in multi-year deals. So that's all I can say about that. I do believe it's in the future of NIL. I obviously can't speak to that currently, like with Duke per se, but I do think that is potentially in the future. As far as where Duke stands heading into next season, so Duke does really well with NIL strategy with football, as far as understanding kind of what the market is and how things are going. So I would say that continued support of the Durham Devils Club is necessary. We are really shifting our focus towards a corporate strategy model. So if you own a business, if you work in an industry, and you may think, man, the industry I work in or the business that I own, there's no obvious connection that we could do with the Durham Devils Club. We actually have some creative options. If you do any shipping and receiving, any logistics, any freight movement, we have a potential partnership that could help us. We potentially in the future, even with some HR/payroll options that you already pay for, we have a partner there. Anyway, reach out to me. It's josh@durhamdevils.com. And if you have any further questions, I can probably share more privately than I can share on a podcast. But in a nutshell, Duke is in a great spot. Duke knows where they are, where they're going, where they're headed. And it's just a matter of executing that on, off the field, financially, on the field with the play. Is that it, Jamie? Also, we want to thank our sponsor, our Iron D sponsor, El Rodeo Mexican Restaurant on North Duke Street in Durham. They sponsor, we're letting them sponsor the questions, basically, if you want to look at it that way. But they're our R&D sponsor. We want to encourage you, if you like Mexican food, then you need to go to El Rodeo on North Duke Street and let them know you listen to the Section 17 podcast. In fact, I've already, over the last couple of weeks, had 2 different people that listen to the podcast take a picture of them eating at El Rodeo and send it to me, and was like, hey, hanging out at El Rodeo, mention the pod type of thing. As a reminder, food, drinks, private room, they've got it all there. And so maybe you're not going to hit up our tailgate, and maybe you're going to go somewhere to eat before a game. Make it El Rodeo. Maybe Duke has an early game. Maybe, God, who knows? But if we actually get an early game this year, you're going to go out and eat after the game. North Duke Street, El Rodeo and North Duke Street is about 10 minutes away from campus. Make sure you hit it up and let them know you listen to the Section 17 podcast. Oh, am I moving us? All right. Sorry. I'm moving us.
You're thinking about that El Rodeo. I understand that.
It's my bad.
You're good. You're good.
Hey, listen. So it's that time. Well, actually, before Scott does the This Week in Blue Devil History, this is our time to remind you that if you don't follow us on all the social media channels, we want you to follow us. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Duke FB Talk. Facebook, search for our group, Duke Football Talk. DukeFootballTalk.com is our website. We want you to hit that. And then YouTube. Man, we love our YouTube people. Obviously, Brian mentioned the giveaway, YouTube exclusive giveaway this week. And so make sure you're doing that. Comment, subscribe. And then lastly, what is it? Oh, Apple, Spotify. 5-star review, 5-star rating. Sorry, my daughter walked up as I was talking and kind of lost my train of thought there. So anyway, I will be disciplining her afterwards.
With the
Scott,
with the Bible belt?
Yeah, you know me. I'm a big disciplinarian. But yeah, so Scott, it's time for This Week in Blue Devil History. We've had 2 good weeks. I don't think we highlight negative stuff on This Week in Blue Devil History, so I think pretty much every week's going to be a good week. So, if it was Brian's segment, it would be like, we lost. We're now 0-3 on the season for blah, blah, blah. But no, this is a positive one. Scott, take it away this week in Blue Devil history.
Yeah, so we will not be ever highlighting anything negative ever again. So just for the record. But this week in Blue Devil history, we go back to September 15th, 2007. Duke defeated, the UConn Huskies 20-14. Duke was led by the Thaddeus Lewis, who went 19-23, 246 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also had 8 rushes for 10 yards. Raekwon Boyette had 4 rushes and 13 yards and a touchdown. Ronnie Drummer, yes, if you had Ronnie Drummer on your bingo list, you are a winner, had a 4 rushes for 3 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, another great stat line. Jomar Wright led the team with 7 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Bailey led the Blue Devils with 12 tackles. This was the one win for the 2007 season. Sorry, I just find that interesting that I threw that in there. But this was also Ted Roof's last season as the Blue Devils coach. That was his last win. And that was This Week in Blue Devil history.
Hey, that happened on my 19th birthday.
Hey, Scott, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, my friend. That's not what my notes say from the 2007 game. While Duke had a fantastic performance, they lost 45-14.
Really? 2015, September 5th. Okay.
That is incredible.
September 1st, 2007. We're talking about the same one, right?
No, September 15th.
He said September 15th.
Okay. Well, did they play twice?
Oh, Lord.
Well, hey, Scott's been drinking the old man shine.
Listen, that fact-checking thing, we need to get somebody to learn how to do that, I guess.
I promise you, Scott, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but we were just like, we're not going to mention any more bad news.
I'm going to sit here while you read your thing and try to figure out what the devil I did wrong.
It's okay. I will mention it in the tell of the tape.
Well, listen, at least we know that was defensive coordinator Ted Roof. Had no business being the head coach. A heck of a defensive coordinator. He moved on to greener pastures, and my man is still making money as a defensive coordinator. So, shout out to Ted Roof. Shout out to Ted Roof. Well, it's that time. We're facing the UConn Huskies. That's right. You did not get Cooper Flagg. I'm not sure if you knew that. But you did also get Danny Hurley, and you have won national titles multiple times since Duke had, so I'll give you that. But you did not get Cooper Flagg. And so last year we went up to UConn. Brian will tell you more about it in the Tell of the Tape. That is for this week, Duke, UConn, Brian Kennedy, Tell of the Tape. Get us started.
All right, fact checking since I just fact-checked Scott, so hopefully I'm right on everything. Tell of the Tape for the UConn Huskies, still an independent school, are not a part of a conference. Last year, UConn finished 3-9 and did not make it to a bowl game. Shocker there. And as we stated, they are currently 1-1. And last week, they defeated the Civil War ship Merrimack, FCS independent school, 63-17. Head coach Jim Moore Jr. is in his 3rd season with the Huskies and has a 56-47 overall coaching record and is 2-3 in bowl games. Now, before coming to UConn, Moore had head coaching stints at UCLA, as well as in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons. He also played as a linebacker and defensive back at Washington from 1980 to 1983. Overall, this is only the 4th matchup all time between Duke and UConn, with UConn leading the series matchup 2-1. The first ever meeting between Duke and UConn took place on September 11, 2004 in East Hartford, Connecticut, where UConn defeated Duke 22-20. UConn, I believe, would also win the second game in the series on September 1st, 2007, defeating Duke 45-14. We're still efforting that. Last season, however, Duke would get its first win in the series, defeating UConn 41-7 in Connecticut. Now, after this season, Duke and UConn will continue their home and away series in 2025 and 2026 before the series goes back on hiatus. UConn only has a winning record against Duke and one other ACC school. Fellas, I asked you this last week. I'm unmute now. What school do you think that is that UConn has a winning record against other than Duke? Josh?
I'm going to go Syracuse.
No, but you're in the right region. Jamie, Scott?
Screaming Eagles of
Boston College. Yeah.
No, Scott, I'm going to say you said Boston College first. You're wrong. Jamie, pick another school.
So in the same region. Good Lord.
Yeah.
What am I missing?
You're missing one big one.
Pittsburgh?
Yes, Pittsburgh.
Okay.
They are 5-4 against Pittsburgh, as some West Virginia fans call it. But Duke, I found this interesting. They only have one winning record against an independent school, Army, who is now actually a member of the American Conference. They are 14-11-1 against the Black Knights. They are, of course, down 2-1 to UConn and 2-6 overall against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And now it's time for Did You Know? Jonathan the Husky has been the mascot of UConn since 1934. The interest to bring in a live mascot to school events began when Rhode Island's Ram mascot was kidnapped that year in 1934, and the news of the kidnapping drew national coverage. A student poll was conducted via the school's newspaper, and the choice of a Husky mascot won the vote. In January of 1935, the first live Husky mascot would make his first appearance on campus. The Alumni Association soon after announced a Name the Mascot contest, and the name Jonathan was unanimously chosen as a way to honor the first governor of the state, Jonathan Trumbull. Jonathan 1 would only last a few months as the school's mascot, as he was struck down by a vehicle. Jonathan 2, who served as Connecticut's mascot for 12 years, has been remembered by chasing Brown's live bear mascot. Yes, there was a live bear mascot on the sidelines, up a tree during a football game in 1936. The bear had gotten so scared that it took police and firefighters to get the bear down after the game. Traditionally, there will always be a Jonathan on the sidelines of sporting events, as well as a costume Husky mascot with the school's logo. To date, there have been 14 Huskies since 1934 who have taken on the role of Jonathan, with Jonathan 15 beginning his duties earlier this year. Whenever a mascot is marked to retire, the school will hold a changing of the collar ceremony to mark one Husky's retirement and another taking over the role of Jonathan. And that was the tale of the tape for the UConn Huskies. Josh?
So King Jonathan, when they go from one King Jonathan to another on the 15th now.
Yes.
So
King Jonathan the 15th, correct.
King Jonathan the 15th. So, hey, listen, UConn will be coming to Wallace Wade. We're going to be tailgating. And we want to remind you that we'll be there all day, but we will let you know what time Rachel Demita and the Duke video team will be at our tailgate to record for some in-game stuff. And so we want you to be there. We want that tailgate to be hopping. We had a little birdie from the Hard Hat guys tell us that we're going to be doing some sliders this Saturday, so get ready for that. It's going to be an awesome time. We plan on probably being in B5 again. There may be a potential that we'll be up in B3, but B5 or B3, so come find us. You'll see the big Section 17 branded blue tent, and so make sure you come out and see us on Saturday. And then we have a big announcement about what's going to happen Saturday, Brian, and that is this. The UNC game tickets that Matt Bliven is giving away for UNC, we're going to give them away at the tailgate. You have to be present at the tailgate. We're doing an old school ticket raffle. Matt is going to administrate that. He's going to take care of that Saturday, and so make sure you're at the tailgate. You get a raffle ticket to enter to win 4 free. And those UNC tickets, folks, you already know, they're either not going to be available or they're going to be expensive. So come to the tailgate. It's your chance to win 4 free UNC game tickets. And so that's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. Heck of a lot of fun. It's time for the predictions, Brian. We need the over-unders. We need our numbers so that we can properly make our predictions.
Well, let's give a shout out to our prediction winners first. On Facebook, Stephen Queen missed it by 1 point, folks, 27-20. And before any of you others who predicted 27-20 get on me, You got to remember, if you are the first to predict it, that's what I go off of, the time at which you entered your prediction. So, Steven, congratulations from Facebook. On Instagram, it was making_the_drives, or Jerry. He predicted Duke to win 27-17. And then on Twitter, haven't said this name in a while, Terry Aki Bradshaw at Kyle Liedtky. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. He has well predicted Duke to win 27-20. So, guys, congratulations. I believe Scott has already reached out to the three of y'all. As always, we will be doing this each and every week during the Duke football season. So once you see the predictions posts go up, usually every Wednesday or Thursday, be sure to get your predictions in. As far as this week's game against UConn, 6 o'clock on the ACC Network Extra, Duke is a 16.5-point favorite. Did not see that one coming, but after talking through UConn struggles and then their beatdown of Merrimack, could see that. Over under last week was 38.5. This week, 47.5. So I'm unmuted, but I will open the floor to anyone who wants to go first if they would like to. If no one says anything, I'll start.
All right, I'll go just to get mine out of the way. So, yeah, I believe Duke does take care of business here. I do believe that the offense opens up, run game, passing game. I'm going to take Duke to win this game 42-17. So the over. And then I have us, because I just want to see it, I've got us blueing out. So we're going blueberry blue, and we're gonna go with the Gothic script Duke on the helmet. So blue with the Gothic strip, 42-17. Good guys.
Well, I'll go next. You took my jersey prediction to the T, so I'll stick with it. All blue with the. We haven't seen the Gothic script on the blue helmet yet this year. We're only 3 games in, but it could happen. Blue out with the Gothic script. I have us, and of course my notes go away. There we go. I have us just squeaking over the over of 47.5. I've got Duke winning 35-13 over UConn. 3-0 heading into Murfreesboro and the Middle Tennessee State Racers. Jamie, Scott, Jamie,
All
there
right,
we go.
I'll go. I am also taking the over. I like Duke pretty big. I mean, to be honest, after like Brian said, talking through UConn and kind of thinking through things, I like Duke 38, UConn 13. I don't think it's very close. I think Duke wins big. I like the uniforms. I'm gonna also go with the Gothic script on the helmet, but I'm going blue, white. Blue, white.
Sorry, I was thinking that through. All right, so just to fix my screw up, it was Northwestern on September the 15th, 2007, not UConn. And I can tell you what happened, but that'll take 10
And now
minutes.
you know the rest of the story.
The more you know.
Yes. And unfortunately, I will not be able to come to the game this weekend because my wife just had knee replacement. So I'm home doing nursing duties / watching football till my eyes fall out of my head.
Yeah, by the way, just terrible priorities and decision-making by Janet there to have this done during football season. Scott, we thought we'd have taught you better.
Listen, guys. Anyway.
Wait. What's worse, going to a wedding during football season or having your spouse schedule surgery during the football season?
Knowing what she was going through, I'm okay with her doing this.
Okay.
For this week, anyway.
We'll give her a pass.
And the wedding thing is overrated because
yes, it is.
I'm not, I'm not gonna. If I care about the person, I'm not gonna be like, I'm not going to your wedding because my college football team is playing a football game. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Unless it was UNC.
Maybe.
Again, that's why you get married during the spring. There's 162 baseball games. You can skip at least 7 of those. Okay, so I'm going to go. Not trying to be a copycat, but I do agree with Brian and Josh on the uniform selection. I do like the blue with the Gothic script, and for prediction, we're gonna go a little half a point over for the degenerates out there that need to make a little extra cash. We're gonna go 38-10 there, and hopefully it's beautiful because the weather right now is perfect. Hopefully on Saturday night, 6 p.m. it's beautiful. Everything out there is great, and honestly, 55-0 would be just as good as anything. But go Blue Devils!
Hey, can I change mine since you other two guys went with mine? Any chance I get to make Brian mad? Can I go white with the Gothic helmet, black, white? So I'm gonna go white, black, white with the Gothic.
Sorry, I've got something on my nose. I'm so
I know
sorry.
that's a big favorite on here. So let me go white, black, white with the Gothic.
And if that does happen, praise God that I'm not going to be there Saturday because Brian will be complaining all day long.
No. Newsflash: the wife and kids are actually going to be at the game.
Newsflash? You said nude.
No,
I swear you said nudes.
News flash. The wife and kids are going to be there, so I've got to be on my best behavior. I was thinking about this, though. Speaking of the Hellraiser, if they did black, white, black, what if you made the blue of this Hellraiser black? That would be pretty sick, with either a white stripe or a black stripe down the middle, but I digress. It is what it is.
Not happening.
Not happening, Captain. We can dream. A boy can dream.
So just as a reminder, tailgate this week. Make sure you're there. Rachel's going to come by. We're going to get some video footage. We're giving away 4 free tickets. Free to the UNC game. Once again, that's not just some random game. UNC game. Matt Bliven and his generosity is sponsoring that. So make sure you're at the tailgate. We'll give you more details on the timing if you follow our Twitter account, X, whatever they call it. Make sure you follow that. We'll let you know. And we really appreciate you guys listening. We didn't get a new Apple podcast review this week for us to read. So you be that person. Go to your Apple podcast right now. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review, and we'll read it next week. We appreciate it.
Guys,
Brian,
fingers crossed. Yeah, well, no, I just checked the forecast. Fingers crossed, they're calling for rain on Saturday. We need some prayers up, Duke fans. So we already got one tailgate rained out earlier this year, so let's not have another one. But yeah, because the tickets are going to be given away at the UConn game, I'm doing that special home field giveaway for the UNC episode in 2 weeks. Again, I'm not going to say what it is.
Now, I will say my Apple Maps, my Apple weather is showing a 20% chance throughout the day, which is why it shows like 45% chance overall. But that's all I'm seeing right there. So if that be the case,
that's what it showed 2 weeks ago. Also,
yeah. And then there was hurricane hit. I forgot.
And did you know this, folks? And we're going to give a little weather trivia here before we sign off. The 20%, 30%, that doesn't mean the chance of rain. That means the amount of coverage the rain will hit, like 20% of the area, 30% of the area. Be it our luck on Saturday, that 30% will be right over the B-lots. So,
and if you have any questions about meteorology, ask Jamie because his son Ethan knows everything that there is to know about the weather.
Hey, you learned something new. So, well, that will do it for this episode. That the code word, which I'm not going to say, did flash during this episode. So if you're at this part and you're wondering, wait a second, I didn't see it, that means you didn't watch the entire episode. So rewind, look for that word, and when you see it, be sure to comment on the YouTube page. If you're listening, stop your car, pull out your phone, pull out your laptop, whatever you have, watch the episode, find that code word so you can be entered for UConn tickets. Wednesday we'll be drawing. Is that correct, Josh? Wednesday. All right, so that will do it for us. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible this coming Saturday for the UConn game, where we hope to see Duke go 3-0 on the season. But for Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, Scott Medlin, and producer Tyler Witt, I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, and this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.